Welcome back, everybody. Having a family can be a difficult journey for some, and the cost of getting pregnant can make it even tougher. A one-of-a-kind fertility program is making it easier. Please welcome back Dr. Jason Griffith with Houston Fertility Institute and Mimi and David Larza, who were trying to get pregnant. Hi there. We hear so much more about fertility issues today. Is it that it's a bigger issue, or are there a combination of things that make it tougher for couples to get pregnant?
I think it's a few things. One, I think it's more recognized. Basically, the incidence of infertility hasn't changed, but now the options are so much greater. It's a much more talked about and much more sought after treatment.
Yeah. All right. For you two, the reason why you were having some trouble is kind of one that a lot of people share. You got married a little bit later in life.
Yes, we did. We got married in our late 30s. We wanted to have a family, and we thought it would be just an easy process since, you know, we usually try to keep healthy, and we thought when we decide to have a family it would be just an easy selling, and that was not the case.
It's interesting because a lot of women, you know, we spend the first part of our life trying not to get pregnant until we're ready. And so you got married, it's a perfect time to do it, but you started having trouble. When did you notice that okay, this is out of the ordinary here?
Well, we got pregnant probably a couple months into our marriage, so we were very happy. Unfortunately, toward the end of our first trimester, we lost the pregnancy. And so we thought, well, we'll try it again, you know, for a few months to see how that worked out. And
yeah, and the key was you got pregnant. And so
yes.
For a lot of women, think, okay, at least I can get pregnant, which is a hurdle to cross. What is the definition of when someone says, okay, you really have some fertility problems versus it just didn't time out right?
The standard definition of infertility is a couple that's been trying to get pregnant for a year and hasn't met with success.
Okay. This can put a lot of pressure on a couple. And both of you understand that. So what were some of the things that you're going through that you can share with us that I think other people need to know at home if they're going through the same thing?
I guess from a husband's perspective, I think education is the first and foremost, and understanding not only what your wife's going through, but you know how that's going to impact the whole family situation.
Yeah.
Whether it be the success stories and the roller coaster that you tend to go through. It's quite stressful at times. And so I think the education is probably the most important thing that I would recommend those going through this process.
Yeah, and remembering not to lose sight of each other, because then things become very robotic. You know, I had mentioned telling my husband, get home now, right? So
never happened to me.
Yeah, he was at the rodeo, and I was like, I don't care if you're with your friends at the rodeo, get home now, right?
That's true. It became a process rather than, you know, just trying to have a baby.
Did you ever have in your mind what will happen if we cannot conceive a child?
That never entered her mind at all, ever. Failure was not an option. And with the ability of Houston Fertility, they really allowed us that flexibility in working with us.
So let's talk about the process, the medical process of, okay, if they're having trouble conceiving, you can kind of jump that step, if you will, and there are different ways to do that, but what were some of the things that you could do?
Well, first thing we do is do an evaluation and see if you can identify a reversible and easy to treat problem. If someone has infertility that we can't explain, we usually start with, you know, simple steps to get them pregnant and then work all the way up to IVF.
Okay.
If someone requires IVF, then that's an intense process of medications, a surgical procedure, and then a retrieval of the eggs, transfer of embryos.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. Okay, so a retrieval of let's say like her eggs, for example. Okay, so it would be an issue of maybe the sperm not being able to fertilize that egg, so you take over and do that outside of the...
Right, we facilitate that. So by retrieving the eggs and putting them together in the laboratory with the sperm, we can retrieve that. And we can actually bypass the natural fertilization process now and actually inject a sperm directly into the egg in a process called intracytoplasmic sperm injection.
Okay, so that's one of those things that the process can be expensive. So right now I want to introduce Dr. Jimmy Gill. He's the founder and medical director of the Houston Fertility Institute. And Jimmy, this program's a little bit different because you realize that these parents want this baby so badly, but it does get costly. So what do you all do?
That's right. You know, this program, going through the fertility process is extremely expensive, and sometimes it may take couples a few times to go through, and it adds to the stress of them wanting to get pregnant. So we kind of started a program once we started seeing couples doing this, was how could we help people who may take more than 1 or 2 times to go through. So we started a kind of a shared risk program. So with our patients that go through, if they're not able to achieve a pregnancy after spending, so much money on an IVF process, we don't charge them to do it again and again.
Wow.
So it actually, it gives them a couple of tries where before they would have had to give up.
Yeah. Well, was there ever a point that you were looking at finances, or it was like, I'll get an extra job?
It was a daily.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
As you try to go through the journey of this, and the flexibility and assistance that they can work with you is very helpful.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, but when it pays off, because I know people in the audience right now, you're going, okay, so what happened? So you're asking, is she pregnant right now? No. And the reason why is because
we have 2 boys, 17 months old.
And we're bringing them in right now. We scared him, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, adorable, adorable. So you got a 2-for-1 deal here.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, we're very blessed, and thanks to Houston Fertility Institute. So,
before we go, advice that you have to people who are in the middle of this right now.
I think what my husband said is education is the key thing. Like for me, I really felt that I could get pregnant wherever I wanted to, and I really didn't realize that age was a big factor for us, especially for me.
Yeah.
So be informed
And doctor, best advice for people right now who are in the middle of what they feel like is a crisis in their life.
I think the important thing is getting information and getting education, because knowledge really is power, and we're more than happy to provide that at Houston Fertility Institute.
Yeah, and find out what the problem really is
Yes,
first.
ma'am.
All right, thank you very, very much, and congratulations. For more information, you can contact the Houston Fertility Institute at 1-877-6-MIRACLE, 1-877-6-MIRACLE. That's 1-877-664-7225. And you can tell them you saw it on Great Day Houston, and you'll receive a free consultation with a doctor. You can also log on to HoustonFertilityInstitute.com. Up next.